So I'm Molly. I met a couple of you guys, actually most of you, at yesterday at the booth. So thanks for coming by. We'll see who wins the raffle. When is that happening? Did it already happen? Okay. I'm honestly anxiously awaiting to see who wins. Yeah, okay. Manifesting. So my name is Molly. I work for Schein. I work out of New York, mostly with the DSOs in that area. But then like 6 months ago, they needed help like managing the partnership with Lightwave. So I was so excited because I've heard such great things about the organization. So now I've started working with all of you. I basically work with like the field reps, just on like the strategy of the partnership, and Sandy. I talk with Sandy. We have a once a week call, but also talk like every single day, making sure that all of you are getting everything that you need. So I have to say I was a little nervous when we were going to present this to you guys, just because it hasn't been released to our team, let alone customers. So this is like legitimately hot off the press, and Schein like rushed to get this done in order for Lightwave to see it. So I think that it's great and super fitting, because not only are we showing this to like leaders within your organization, but it's very clear and evident to me that you're all leaders in the industry. So it's been a pleasure this past weekend getting to know you all. And yeah, we're gonna learn about the new practice analysis by Schein, powered by Jarvis Analytics. So this will probably be released, I'd say it's getting released to our sales team in June, and then probably like I'd say at the end of the month or early July, you guys will be able to access this. So has anyone ever seen a Schein practice analysis before? It's like a pretty typical, nope. So the practice analysis, when I was a field rep with private practices, I did it all the time. It's one of our most requested business services, but it basically like every year looks at areas of opportunity within the practice. So like we would manually get your fee schedule, procedure by provider, and like the active patient count. And it basically would like analyze the data each year and look at like your hygiene retention, opportunities with missed like exams and films. And we would work together to develop a plan on how to grow revenue based off of that data. But the new practice analysis that's coming out in a couple of months is now powered by Jarvis Analytics. So has anyone ever heard of Jarvis Analytics before? It's similar to like Dental Intel, those like analytics platforms. So it's daily like KPI reporting basically. So the data is like really organized, super accurate. And I literally think you'll be able to request this on henryschein.com, and it'll just link up to your PMS software, and then it'll generate the report rather than pulling the reports manually, having us go back and do it, and then like print it out and go over it with you in person. So what the practice analysis is, it like hasn't really changed the idea behind it. It basically, like I said, looks at gaps within the practice and ways to grow revenue. And when we talk about like growing revenue, like it sometimes can be like grow, money. But at the end of the day, we grow revenue so that we can then invest it back into the practice and improve the patient experience. So that's really where I see it be most important. So in the past, the practice analysis, like I said before, it looked at like your coding, ways to optimize coding, your fee schedule, balancing your fee schedule, and then like your procedure mix, like sitting down with everyone in the practice. Do we want to expand procedures, grow revenue that way, etc. So this is what Jarvis, this is just like a little snapshot of Jarvis. So like I said, Jarvis is like a KPI tool. So you can log into this every single day and see your KPIs. So this is a different like software than what the report that we're going over, but it's powered by this company. And Schein acquired Jarvis Analytics like in 2021. So basically we're using Jarvis to help power the new practice analysis. So like I said, like the data is really accurate, it's really clean and just like completely revamped. But Jarvis is also a great tool. So you can literally use this every single day to look at the KPIs and how you're performing day over day, month over month, just on like general, areas within the office.
Can I ask a
Yeah.
Evelyn, are you guys still using
Dental and health.
you are,
Yeah.
on a daily basis? Anybody else using any type of analytics? You guys?
Yeah.
How about you guys? Anything? Nothing?
And it's not just
run
like
our
analytics.
analytics.
Yeah.
Like follow-up,
Okay.
the follow-ups where you can, that's done almost every day by the front desk.
Right. So it's automated.
Schedule.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And that's great because data's data, but like, how do we turn the data into action? You know, so this annual practice analysis report that we'll go over will basically break down how to turn that data into action.
You said you've never had any issues with the data being off at all with Jarvis?
So I Jarvis, like it's been around forever, like various years before Henry Schein acquired it. So I haven't heard any issues with the reporting. The practice analysis, some of the numbers in here, just because this is like literally beta right now, like I laughed when I looked at it because I was like, oh my God, I think it was the major films, like the average fee they said was $55. I'm like, it's probably like, I don't know, $100, $200. Whoever's at Bluetooth Dental is getting a deal. So there are some numbers in here that I'm like, oh, okay.
But the Jarvis, that's just pulling data from your practice management software.
Yeah.
So it's just pulling the real
Yeah.
numbers. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's just data driven.
I thought I had water, but I don't.
What's that?
Yeah. So, like, this is just what one of the cover pages will look like. Like, okay, when we looked at all the KPIs, this is what the revenue is going to be. Like I said, the content of the old practice analysis versus the new, like, really isn't any different, but it's just the way that it's delivered is a bit more clean, and, like, you don't need someone to walk through this with you. You can literally just, like, click this little arrow on the side, and it'll bring you to the page that breaks down how to grow within each of these departments. So right now where we've started, or the team has started, is these couple of areas, and they're going to keep on investing in generating like more reporting capabilities. But for now, they're starting with hygiene, major films, fee opportunities, exams, perio, unscheduled treatment, and broken appointments, which is kind of a lot, but those are the areas that they're focused on in the beginning. And when I talk at the top, you'll see that I notated like this is same store growth opportunity. So just from like working with a lot of groups, talking to a lot of offices, like heading into 2023, even like 2022, people were kind of like uneasy about like the dynamic of the market. How do we grow? And when we look at growing, there's really two ways that you can do that. And you can grow organically at the office level with the existing patient base that you have, or you can acquire new patients, and like acquiring new patients costs like tenfold in marketing efforts. So it's like, how do you capture at what you're currently doing with the patient base that you have, the opportunity that's already existing? So this is what like the hygiene page will look like. And I always like to start with hygiene just because it truly is like the backbone of the practice. There's like, a little nugget that I got when I first started that like every dollar in hygiene is $3 in restorative work. So when we look at this number of, $73,000 worth of, production opportunity, that's also like 3 times on the restorative side. So really honing in on like having a good hygiene program and making sure that we're capturing as much as we can there is really key to like the overall holistic health of the practice, obviously. So basically what it does is it looks at the total active patient base and any patients within that may have not been coded for a hygiene appointment, what that average appointment is, and then what the monetary value will be. Obviously, there's attrition in offices, so like that's not going to be like perfect all the time. When I did this, it always said like 80% is like the gold standard. I only saw that a couple of times. So I'd say maybe like 70% would be, the gold standard of hygiene retention. And I'd say like a huge thing just in terms of like hygiene retention, increasing hygiene retention, what I found is like education at the chair level about like oral systemic health. the overall impact that, you know, the mouth has on the body. So, you know, it starts with education, with getting this number up, and also to like another thing that has worked with other offices, and we were just talking about it in the last session that we did, is like something as easy as like booking chairside, which I'm sure a lot of people do. So yeah, I mean, any other like suggestions on hygiene, like what's worked with offices for increasing that number? No? Yeah, pretty.
We have a dedicated hygiene coordinator
Mm-hmm.
consistently works on all of these things to make sure everybody's reappointed.
Mm-hmm. Outsourcing patient communication. So it's just, like you said, dental intel, it'll just, you know, text patients and all that stuff. I get text messages all the time from my dentist that I have an appointment on the 26th, which I have to cancel, so I need to remember to do that tomorrow. But then if you see down here too, so the key insight page, that will just, you click that and like literally all the suggestions we just talked through, that will bring you to the report where it'll go through like how to turn this data into action basically. There's the fee schedule portion. So once a year, it's good to typically, I mean, practices adjust their fees once a year to align with the standard, which is like, you know, the 50th, 60th percentile. So basically what this will do, Henry Schein owns like a huge clearinghouse, obviously, because we own Dentrix. So they know all of the fees and percentiles within like a 5-digit zip code. So it'll break down like the 20th percentile, 30th, 40th, 50th, 60th, all the way up to the 90th, and where your fees lie. So it's good once a year to make sure that you're adjusting those. And like, obviously, with insurance companies, you're not going to adjust your fee $5 and then see that. But typically what I say is like maybe 80% of your patients are in network, 20% aren't. So when you look at this huge opportunity, take 20% of that, and that will probably be, you know, palatable in terms of what the ROI actually will be. And also too, like analyzing the fee schedule based off of reimbursable procedures. So we were just talking in the last session about like varnish, fluoride varnish. Sandy and I just put together new pricing with Centrix on their Fluoridose, which is their varnish. And it's like, I think 60 or 70 cents a unit. And I mean, sometimes I feel like with fluoride varnish, when it's too high, people don't like, they can't cost justify it. But maybe if you lower it to like $30 or something, the case acceptance goes up. And a hygienist that was just in the last session said that they did that at the office and the case acceptance went through the roof. So it's good to just analyze the fees where they lie based off of reimbursable and non-reimbursable procedures. It'll also look at your exams. Are you doing your exams every year? Are you coding those out? And obviously there's, you know, the financial incentive of making sure that everyone's getting their exams, but also it's good to just know, like, if there are missed exams, you know, maybe why. And two, like, that's mistreatment or misdiagnosed treatment planning. So maybe like a cavity can turn into a root canal. So, you know, it's good to be cognizant if you are missing exams, why, and putting better standard operating procedures in place to capture more of those missed opportunities. It'll also look at the perio opportunity, and perio is, it says it in here in like the key insight portion. It's not easy to put together like a good perio program, like it's actually pretty difficult. But if you do it and you do it the right way, typically this is where I see the most opportunity in terms of like a dollar value for an individual practice. So 30% is like the standard of how many patients within the practice should be coded into a perio program. And I think it's important to not like undermine like an infection. Instead of just watching it, making sure that they're properly coded into, you know, a program, and just making sure the messaging is consistent across the office, like, you know, how you're explaining perio to the patient. When I was a rep, this is like kind of just something that I handed out to people at the front desk, how to properly, maybe code people into perio, what the roadmap looks like for properly coding people into, either a healthy patient. Gingivitis is one, but obviously perio is a parlay off of the last slide. So I'll send this to Sandy if anyone wants it. You can have it, keep it at your front desk. But one, little nugget that I always would point out when I did these reports with practices that I worked with was the 9110 code. Does anyone use the 9110 code? Know about it? Yeah. Yeah. So sometimes when in the prior practice analysis, and I think in the new one they'll do this too, they'll like break down code utilizations and codes you can utilize in replacement of other ones. But people will code the 140 for an emergency visit, which eats up like an exam for the year, when you can use the 9110, put them out of pain, rebook them for another appointment, and then you can code your 120s. So just food for thought. This is just major films. Is everyone in major films? What that impact will be if you were to capture everyone in major films. And then the last is unscheduled treatment. So it'll break down from like a financial standpoint, how many people have unscheduled treatment, and then you can categorize on your own where you want to focus your time, effort, and energy on who to book. And I think it's powerful information too, just to kind of dig in maybe and figure out like the why behind it. Is it anxiety? Is it the messaging? Why aren't people accepting treatment? And I think like this is really powerful now with the new like AI that's coming out in dental. Have people been like seeing that on LinkedIn and just like hearing about it? AI. So it's like kind of all over the place. Like you may have heard of like Overjet, Pearl, Henry Schein has partnered with Vidya Health. So basically AI, it's everywhere. Richard used ChatGPT yesterday to write that the boat cruise like thing. The tweet, I don't know what it was. Yeah, but it's everywhere and it's in dental now. So if patients are apprehensive for treatment, what AI does now is like you take your x-rays and literally it will just like diagnose the patient like with that AI. So that way like in communicating with the patient, if they ever want a second opinion, you have that AI to fall back on. So I think that like that is going to be huge heading into the new year in increasing revenue via AI. So we talked a lot about growing revenue. Sometimes procurement can be like a little mundane and boring, but I think it's important to address like how to control overhead as well. So this is just like a sample purchasing analytics report that doesn't cost anyone anything that uses Henry Schein. It's just we can take practice data, ordering habits, and work with you on how to streamline ordering and create better efficiencies to grow cash flow within the office. So if you look on the top, I think for you guys it would be top left-hand corner, the quantity summary page. This, basically what this means is that like typically the best practices in individual offices for items ordered are 150 to 200 items. Now, like it's been a little skewed because of COVID and like things being back ordered, but a lot of the times we see that some offices are ordering things 1 or 2 times, and when that happens, are they actually using the product? Did they just order it once, they tried it, they threw it out? And a lot of the times those items ordered 1 or 2 times, it's just money sitting on the shelf. So when we talk about growing cash flow, making sure you have a very streamlined formulary. I just built like a formulary with Sandy that like any of you guys can use. It's pretty like, it's right on the Henry Schein website. It's a lot of, non-clinical items that have private label options, very cost effective. Being cognizant of what you're ordering, how you're ordering, and looking at the data behind it. So Richard has worked with a few offices.
Yep. Yes,
And-
we're starting to roll this out, and I know I did it with Dr. Boda's office with you guys a few months ago. And what we're doing, we're just taking your current overall supply list and we're comparing it to what if it was all house brands? Or what if you gave me a substitute for just the house brands? Then it shows the savings. Does that make sense? And that's how you move the needle. And I know it's important for all offices to keep the overhead low, but moving the needle is how do we get house brands, how do we control budgets, how do we increase our production and our patient care? It's not ordered from 5 different companies. Does that make sense? It's not ordered from Dental City. It's just not. How do we move the needle? You work with us, you work with Molly, and we give you substitutes for house brands, we give you alternatives to lower the overhead. And then going back to her report, the Jarvis, again, more patient care, more opportunities, and that's a lot of stuff to take in. But like pick 1 or 2 categories and focus on that for a month. More patient care increases your production, then all the supply stuff goes away, right? You're on budget, you stay on budget. So, yeah. And then for the offices that have not had that price comparison or that analytics report with the house brand comparison, just contact your local rep. I think I work with most everybody in here. So if I haven't done that for you, just let me know. We can do it at any time. Yeah.
So yeah, that's like, procurement strategy stuff, putting together a strategy to streamline the way that you're ordering and overall yielding savings for the office. A term that gets thrown around a lot in dental is like buying power. But this little, page right here breaks down like the percentage of spend based off of manufacturer. So obviously best practices is to have like Henry Schein, all of those non-clinical items with house brand. And then, after that, really making sure that you're partnering closely with manufacturers to leverage buying power so that we can pass along better costs. And, you can work on free goods deals, all that sort of stuff. So just being cognizant of like not spreading your buying power too thin will be key too in terms of controlling overhead costs.